everybody. I'm Evie Roberts, and this is my podcast, Talking in the Dark. Welcome. The aim of this podcast is to raise awareness about blindness, visual impairment, and disability in general, in a happy and light-hearted way. For those of you that don't know, I am blind. I was born with a condition called bilateral anophthalmia. Try spelling that one. It basically means that when I was born, my eyes didn't develop properly, so I wear prosthetics instead. The goal of this podcast is to remove some of the stigma and stereotypes around disabilities, whilst also having fun at the same time. Each week, I will be interviewing people from all walks of life, including some with hidden or physical disabilities like mine, and getting to know a little bit more about them and the lives they lead. In this episode, I am very excited to tell you that I will be talking to Peter Hodgson from the Isle of Man Youth Motor Project. My name is Evie Roberts, and this is my podcast, Talking in the Dark. Welcome. Hi Peter, how are you doing?
Hi Evie, great, thanks.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. It's super cool to get to meet you, and I'm very, very excited to talk all about the Youth Motor Project today. It is a really amazing organisation, and I'm super excited to learn more about it. But before we get into any of that, what have you been up to today?
Well, thanks for asking. Thanks for inviting me. It's really nice to have the opportunity to meet you and to also talk about my favourite subject, which is the Youth Motor Project. My day. I've had an awfully boring day.
Oh,
I've
really?
done nothing but paperwork and administration and management today. I've barely met any human beings. I've been dealing with paperwork all day.
Oh, no. I guess in some respects that's good because it means you're getting all that admin stuff kind of done, so you don't have to, it doesn't maybe carry over to another day. But also, yeah, those days are definitely not fun.
They aren't fun, but in the management of charity work, unfortunately, they're an absolutely essential part of making sure everything runs to schedule, really.
Absolutely, yeah. You said there about not really actually talking to anybody today. Are you someone who's quite kind of extroverted and likes to talk to people?
Oh, that's a very interesting question. I am absolutely fascinated, completely intrigued by people, how people work, how they think. But if you were to ask me how best do I work best on my own, quietly, just getting on with it. So if you were to leave me alone, I would get 10 times more work done than if I was with another group of people where we'd go off on tangents discussing all sorts of things.
That's fair enough. You almost kind of need to, because I think what can sometimes happen when you're with other people, especially, you want to talk to them, you want to have that interaction, and then it means you actually end up getting nothing done. So sometimes it's probably good to just sit down by yourself and kind of be in your own head and get stuff done, I guess.
Yeah, exactly that. When I woke up this morning, I knew it was going to be an admin day.
Mm-hmm.
I knew it was all going to be paperwork today. So I just, did my basic introductions to a number of people that I work with or work alongside, and then said, see ya, I'm off to do the work.
Yeah,
and that was
absolutely.
It. And you're the first human being I've spoken to for hours.
Am I? Oh, wow. Well, I'm honoured, I guess. What about, I always find this really interesting. When it comes to working, are you someone who needs, background noise? Do you want, to listen to music, or do you just work better in silence? I always find this question really interesting.
Okay, right, I've got two ways of working.
Okay.
One, if I'm doing things like, say, finances or maths-based subjects, I put Radio 3 on. Mm-hmm. If I'm doing English-based stuff, as in writing reports, trying to come up with new programs, doing planning, I like silence.
Oh, okay. Where's that strategy come from? Why do you like to have background noise for one and silence for the other?
I think it's because when I'm thinking about language, I don't like to be disturbed, and I like to use my sort of memory as a form of thesaurus, where when I'm doing sort of more calculations and stuff, I find having that auditory distraction much more conducive to actually getting the sums right, if you want another way of describing it. I know it's a bit unusual, but that's what I've been doing this afternoon. I've been listening to Radio 3 and doing lots of projections about finances and funding, whereas this morning I was writing reports and I was in complete silence.
Wow, okay, that's super interesting. That's a really interesting way of looking at it. So obviously, like you said, you've been doing lots of work for the Youth Motor Project, and obviously I want to definitely jump into that and talk about it. So first of all, what is the Youth Motor Project?
The Youth Motor Project it's an independent diversionary charity. It's for young people, and we work to improve the decision-making abilities, the social communication skills, and the technical knowledge in various subjects of young people aged from around about 12 to 19 years of age.
Wow, okay. So what are some of, the kind of activities that you guys do?
The primary aim of our activities, the content of our sessions, is essentially everything has to be fun. As much as possible, we base everything around fun activities, as well as being informative, as well as the advice side of things. Enjoyment makes learning easier. Having an explanation as to why you're learning something gives you motivation to learn. So we base all of our sessions around what young people would like. Whilst they might not know exactly what they're looking for, we do consult with them on the session content, on the presentations. We have, to give an example of some of the things we do, we have social nights where we have open discussions and advice sessions. And we also have evenings where we have give practical assistance in things like maintaining a vehicle. That's where the motor project side comes in. We'll also have sessions on job hunting, writing CVs, applying for jobs, etc. We also have other evenings and sessions where we have structured courses. The title of our courses is Vehicles and Society, which revolve around basic engineering, vehicle use, the responsibilities and legalities of vehicle use. We also, another avenue of our presentations, helping 15, 16, 17-year-olds study for their theory tests of driving. And we also, going down a completely different line, we offer mentoring and nurturing sessions for individuals. From a psychological point of view, helping to develop resilience and anti-fragility, which is the new term that psychologists seem to be using.
Wow, okay. So, I'm getting from that, it's obviously, the kind of activities and the things that you do, it's really varied, isn't it?
It's massively varied. To say, over the years, we've been doing this over 25 years. And we started off as a very, very almost single-purpose project. And I like to use the reference, we're a bit like the car phone warehouse. When the car phone warehouse first set up, they sold car phones. But now they sell all sorts of technology. We started off as a motor project dealing with motor vehicles and young people. But we've expanded as we've learned, and young people have also changed their attitudes and interests. We've diversified alongside them. So now, we're very, very diverse in what we offer, what presentations contain, and how flexible we can be for what young people want.
Absolutely. And I think that's brilliant. And I suppose it really is just kind of about going with the flow and kind of adapting what you do as kind of times change and as people's attitudes to things change. I suppose it's just about kind of riding that wave and going with it.
I feel one of the strengths of the motor project over the years, and one of the reasons that we're still working with the level of success we do is the flexibility, because we've been able to adapt, because we've been able to address young people's needs, and also, just to be a little bit more serious as well, also what communities' needs are as well, alongside what the young people like to experience. We try and work towards tolerance and integration of young people within the society, within our own little communities. So that flexibility is a major part of our success and our longevity.
Absolutely. Yeah, I can definitely imagine. And I think it's great. And what you were saying earlier about making sure that sessions are fun, I picked up on that. And I think that's such a great way of kind of doing things, because I think if you're genuinely interested and enjoying something, it's going to make you so much more, it's going to make you want to learn more, it's going to make you so much more willing to. And I always find if things are fun and you enjoy doing them, I also find it can stick in your head a lot better, and it kind of helps you memorize things in a way.
Yeah, without wanting to give away too many of our secrets, one of the things I refer to is what we call our hidden curriculum. The young people who come to spend time with us, on whichever session they happen to be with, whoever's referred them or whether they've self-referred, we have a hidden curriculum where we assess them over time to see what we think they might need. That, coupled with our experience over the years of meeting so many, we've met over 1,000 young people through the project now, and we're able, we feel, to make an assessment, make a judgment, how to help young people learn, how to help an individual make better choices. So we tailor every experience for that individual. And again, that's what tends to make it a bit more fun. It's not all fun, because we have to give them something to base it against. But that's how we sort of tend to organise our sessions. They are tailored to the individual.
Absolutely. And obviously, I think that's so important as well, because no two people are the same. No two people are going to have the same needs. And most importantly, no two people are going to learn the same. That everyone learns differently. And, there are three sort of, I suppose, main types of learner. But the little details of how people learn and memorize things are all going to be so different.
Yeah, you've got to work with the individual to learn what they want to achieve, and if they don't have that ambition, to generate an ambition with them. But you've got to understand that everybody learns in different ways. There's lots of different ways of learning, but again, going back to the very first point, making it fun is the very first step in that.
Absolutely, yeah. You mentioned that, the project's been going for about 20 years. And I'm wondering, how did it begin, and kind of where did the idea stem from that this was something that you wanted to do?
It's quite an interesting story how we started. In the late 1990s, there was growing concern in the British Isles, but this was happening on the island as well. That the misuse of motor vehicles by young people was becoming a great issue. There were worries that vehicle crime was growing, and there was more antisocial behaviour around the use of vehicles. And it's hard to emphasise how big an issue this was in the late 1990s. So a group of people from various backgrounds on the island, the police, probation services, social services, schools, youth services, driving instructors, motorsport representatives, concerned members of the public, all came together, and there was a number of public meetings. There was a number of speakers brought over from across to talk about these concerns. And essentially in 1997, the charity was formed as the Isle of Man Youth Motor Project, with the aim of doing something about it. But at that point, it was still, what should we do? And then in 1999, after researching various projects in the UK, our project essentially cherry-picked the best ideas from across and added some of our own, and this is where I came into the project and started creating programs. And we started off with 2 or 3 sessions a week, working with a very small group of young people, and worked towards the objective of diverting them from antisocial choices, improving road safety, which still underpins much of our approaches today. Although, as we've mentioned, the work and clientele are considerably more diverse than when we started.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, that is a really sort of fascinating story. And I obviously can imagine there was, like you say, about kind of cherry picking and, ideas from projects across and doing all that research. I can't even imagine the amount of work that would have gone into creating this project and making it the best it could be.
Yeah, there was a charity committee was set up, and they were set up from, like I said, a number of diverse backgrounds. So they each brought their own specialism to it. And then when I joined the project, it was about coordinating all these different ideas from the youth justice side, from the social work side, from the youth worker side, from the educational side, and bringing them all together. And I spent many, many late nights drawing up programs to sort of dry run them to see if they would work before we started our first pilot courses with young people. And just before we started our pilot courses, that's when we started employing youth workers and specialist workers.
Oh, absolutely. And I mean, you talking about those kind of pilot courses there, do you remember, how did you feel before starting those courses? Were you kind of apprehensive? Were you excited? Did you think it was going to take off as much as it has? What were your feelings?
Well, if I'm being honest, I was very, very confident we were going to make a massive difference to the island's young people. I possibly overestimated how much work was going to be involved in it. I was apprehensive, I can't deny that. But we had a great team around us when we first started. We possibly made a lot of mistakes along the way, but we learned from them, we learned quickly, and the way we've structured our charity, it allows us to make changes really, really quickly. So if something didn't work one week, we could change the programs so that by the time of the next session for those young people, it would be completely different. And again, going back to what we've said earlier, it's very much an individual-led type of program. So the young people would be contributing to what they want and the actual content. What should we do next week and why would we be doing that?
I think that's really brilliant as well. I mean, you mentioned it earlier and you just mentioned it there, and I think it's definitely a great thing to talk about, having it be sort of in a way led by the young people that you're helping and letting them have a say, because I think it makes, if you have a say and you have an opinion in what you're doing, it makes you feel like so much more of a part of it, I suppose.
Yeah, very much so. That investment that young people put, and it's not just investment, but it's also a trust that they have. We build up a rapport. Now it's not as difficult as it was in the beginning, because most young people coming to us have already heard of us or can do a little bit of research, find a bit more about myself, find out more about the youth workers that work for the project. But in the beginning, we had to build up that rapport and that trust. And we worked along, we balanced things between challenging the young people and also caring for their personal issues. And we work to focus on achievements for every individual.
Absolutely, and I think that rapport is certainly, really, really important to build up, because I think without that trust and without that kind of, relationship between young people and the people helping them, you're really not going to get very far.
No. You have to have the agreement, the approval of the people that you're working with, definitely.
And I imagine, like back to what we were saying earlier about how everyone's different, I imagine it takes, for every person that you work with, it takes a completely different amount of time to build up that trust.
Yeah, again, you got it spot on. Some people, the first session, they hit it off immediately, personality dependent. We always try to be exceptionally optimistic. We treat everybody with utmost respect, and we try and engage them and engage the young people on their own level, but we're dealing with some young people who have had particularly traumatic experiences, traumatic lives. But on the other side of that, we're also dealing with young people who've had very privileged experiences and very privileged lives. So just those two aspects alone, you can see how different somebody's reception of us could possibly be.
Absolutely, yeah. It really, it really, really does depend on the person. And obviously, if someone has had quite a kind of traumatic and difficult life, it's going to take a good while in most cases for them to feel safe enough to trust people.
Yeah, exactly. And we don't start off with sit down, what's 2 add 2, what's how do you spell this word, or the education side of the project is sort of hidden within our curriculum, as I explained before. But for these people who have had more troubling experiences, getting to know us, getting to know the workers, getting to know the other young people that they may be in a group with, if it is a group session, is a primary consideration before we even start to sort of deal with the actual personal issues.
Yeah, definitely. And it really sounds like, through the people that work on the project, it really sounds like it is a kind of huge team effort. And, there are lots of different people who work on it. I mean, there definitely were, like you say, when the project first started, there were so many different people who met to discuss what could be done. And even now, I think it sounds like there are so many people from so many different walks of life that work on the project. And it sounds like they all play a real kind of pivotal role in making it come to life.
Yeah, it's very much, it's like a mini community, and I think that's another reason why it's so successful, because everybody involved in it brings a sort of a new aspect to it, a different approach, a different personality, and balancing all those things for the benefit of the island's young people is their primary aim. The charity has its list of objectives, and the continuing ideal through those objectives is benefiting the young people and benefiting our local communities.
Absolutely. I mean, how important do you think that kind of teamwork aspect of it is?
Teamwork is one of the main drivers in our objectives. Getting young people to work together, getting them to tolerate people who are perhaps different to them, perhaps had different experiences. One of the things that when we first set up our courses and our presentation sessions that I was very, very keen on was to bring together people from different backgrounds. The young people would spend time with people that they wouldn't normally. You get groupings within schools, you get little cohorts that form. My main aim when setting up the sessions was to mix these people, and we're very, very pleased. One of our greater successes is to have people from such diverse backgrounds, young people mixing together and becoming lifelong friends.
Oh, and that's so amazing that you guys are able to do that. And I think that will be a really important thing for them. Obviously, the project is going to help them in so many ways. But I think one of the most important things sometimes, especially when you're a teenager, and I know this from firsthand, is friendship. And if you can get to meet people that you may not have ever met had it not been for that, but if you can meet people that you get along with and take friendships away from that, that is so important.
Yeah, very much so. On that very, very point, I'm just going to read to you a testimonial that I've had very, very recently in the last couple of weeks. This is from a parent, and it covers that point exactly. If you don't mind.
Yeah, of course.
Thank you. My son attended the Youth Motor Project and he loved it. Everybody needs a space, a tribe, and the Youth Motor Project provided that for my son. He was never into team sports, but this gave him a hobby and a social group and useful knowledge from supportive mentors. The volunteers, the people who work, are brilliant in the way they connect with the kids. He really flourished under their guidance, developing his mechanical skills and knowledge, but also his confidence and social skills. He went on from there to study engineering and repairs his own cars. The Motor Project caters for a range of youngsters that might otherwise fill their time by staying in the bedrooms or finding the wrong interest. This project really deserves really deserves support, and it is a cost-effective contribution to making positive futures for young people on our island, and the kids love it. And just out of that, we've had a few testimonials recently, and it's the young people who would normally be loners, may not be capable of making friends as easily as others. They come to the project and they're put in our big mixer, and they all get on. And we haven't ever had an issue where there's been somebody disruptive within our group. Everybody in every type of session mucks in, gets on with the sessions, gets on with the content, and builds friendships from that in working together, like we said before, in the team building exercises.
Wow, I mean, that is so incredible, and such a testimony to you guys as well, and it's such a credit to you guys. But that is so incredible, and that is an amazing testimony you guys have got there. And I wanted to talk about this. What do you think are some of the benefits for the kids involved with the project, but also their families as well?
The benefits for the young people, it gives them somewhere to be. That's the bottom line. It gives them somewhere to be that's fun. It gives them somewhere to be that's fun and in amongst like-minded people. So it gives them a little community of their own. This gives them, in turn, confidence. It allows them to build up self-esteem if that is what they need. They really do seem to flourish within the sessions of the project, and that works in a way to develop their ability to interact with people outside of the project. And we've seen it. We've had young people who we've worked with come back 10, 15, 20 years later to say how effective that side of the project's been, irrespective of the technical knowledge that they've picked up from some of the courses. It's the social side, the communication skills side. So the benefits for the young people, I feel on an individual level, is almost immeasurable. For the families, for the community, we get an awful lot of parents, guardians, and other appropriate adults coming back and saying how much the young people have praised the existence of something that they can go to. Not everybody wants to go to a football team. Not everybody wants to play music. Not everybody wants to go to the local youth club. But at the Motor Project, we start with every group from scratch, and they build between them what they want. They're the ones that bring a template for us, and that is taken home and explained to their carers in positive terms. In this is a great place to be, a great place to hang out. And as a bonus, I'm learning something. So I think from parents, it's the satisfaction that the young people have found somewhere, and they've found their own little tribe, their own little community. And then you've got the community benefits for our own society, and we've had statistics to show that we've affected the crime rates in a positive way. by engaging with young people who perhaps would have made inappropriate choices in the past, and we've managed to divert them from those choices. So it's such a multifaceted project with such multifaceted results. So yeah, it's very, very hard to actually pinpoint any specific benefits without mentioning certain individuals.
Yeah, absolutely. I can imagine, but I think what I'm definitely getting from that, and what I think my listeners will too, it's such a kind of layered and multi-level thing. I can imagine it's pretty hard to explain in brief terms because there are so many kind of layers and levels to it. But I think it is a really amazing project. And I wonder, do you have any maybe sort of stories or memorable moments that have come out of the project that you can think of?
Oh, that's a very good question. Yeah, there's been a number of things that we're particularly proud of, but also that stick in our mind. One of the things we did before the COVID episode, before the pandemic caused quite a few problems for travel. We used to do trips and expeditions, and we used to take groups of young people to various places in England. We used to go to events, we used to go to various cities for experiences, and all part of the learning experience, but to sort of give them a different view of societies, a different look at life. But one of the other things we also did is we teamed up with a Manx charity that worked in Cambodia. And we used to take, for 10 years, we took groups of young people out to the Far East. And we worked alongside a Cambodian charity that had set up a school and an orphanage. And we took young people out there and, taught English for like 2 weeks. And that the experiences of a completely different culture, a completely different lifestyle was absolutely amazing to see. Not only the development of the Cambodian young people, but the effects that it had on our young people were absolutely incredible. The stories they came back with, the experiences they came back with, it made it so worthwhile. All those jet-lagged, sleepless nights. Absolutely fantastic it was. So that sticks out as a major thing. But the other things that I would also say is locally, we've had young people who've been at the project who, how shall I describe them? Perhaps more challenging personalities. I'm sure everybody's got an idea of the sort of people that we might work with. They have turned their lives around so impressively through hard work, through wanting to have a different experience. Some of them from wanting to have a different experience from their parents, from their grandparents, from seeing what choices their peers are making. And they've decided, no, I don't want that for me. And they've turned their life around. And we've got young people who have basically been, I would describe as an anti-intellectual. I don't like school. I don't understand school. I don't want to learn anything. And then, we've helped them over the years, and like 3, 4, 5 years later, they're at university studying engineering. We've had young people go on to work in motorsport teams in the UK from having no interest whatsoever when they first came to us. And on other side, we've got young people who have gone from just being excitable and slightly challenging personalities to now being in charge of major engineering works. We've had young people who perhaps their peer groups were very, very, what word shall I use? Dodgy. I'll use dodgy. Who are now in the police. And it's just an absolutely fascinating project in the sense that I've been privileged to watch these young people grow into really responsible adults who contribute to our community. Is absolutely. I can't begin to sort of explain how fantastic experience it has been for me.
I think I can't really imagine, but I was going to say it must be such an amazing feeling. And this is why I say I can't really imagine it. I can't imagine how brilliant of a feeling it must be to watch someone kind of completely turn their life around and know that you have helped to kind of provide the facilities for them to do so.
Yeah, it's very hard to differentiate between the young people that have had a privileged start, a head start in their social and professional lives, to those that have perhaps had a really difficult beginning. Who's sort of improved the best, who's like got the most out of their time with us. Because when it comes down to it, like all the young people that have been up to the project, irrespective of their backgrounds, have just become project members. We've all become, one big team, and I can honestly say now that some of the first courses that we ran in 1999 and 2000, the people on those courses I now consider as friends, and I've been invited to their weddings and been to the christenings of their children, and it's absolutely an incredible experience to have gone through their early adult lives with them. It's great to sort of see as well those young people who've managed to avoid devastating life choices in some cases, and to make the right choice, or to even have the ability to ask for help and advice.
Absolutely. And it must be, again, we've talked about kind of how amazing it is for the people working with them, but for the people themselves, for them, it must be an incredible feeling as well, because you can only sort of turn your life around like that through, like you say, dedication and hard work. That takes effort. That takes a lot of effort to kind of make that kind of 180 turn. So for them as well, it's incredible.
Yeah, as I say, we've had many testimonials from the young people, in particular, to attribute their successes to their time with us. It's very, very humbling to think that we've managed to have an effect, such a positive effect for these individuals. I'm really, really proud and pleased that these young people have done what they've done. The relationships that we build up with these young people, they become so important to us that we share their success in the same way that we share their tribulations as well. But it's so rewarding to have worked at this level with the project since 1999. That's when I joined.
I mean, yeah, it certainly sounds like a really rewarding thing to be a part of. Now, speaking of, I mean, you said, like you say, you've been there from the very start. 1999 was when you joined. What is your kind of role, and what would you say it entails?
Oh, that's a difficult question. I had a sneaking suspicion you were going to ask what I actually do. As I say, I said to you earlier, I've spent today pushing paper around. That is a very, very big part of what I do now, to manage the actual administrative side of the charity. But I actually made a list, just as an aide-memoire to help me answer this question. My role, I'm the manager, so I manage the day-to-day running of the charity, but I also get involved in the meetings regarding the young people themselves. So I'm meeting professionals, I'm meeting carers and parents and teachers and youth workers and social workers and probation officers and police officers. But I'm also meeting with young people and their peers to like plan the next sessions, to work out what they want from the sessions. And then obviously I'm in meetings regarding the actual running of the charity itself. So I'm meeting with the trustees, I'm meeting with fundraisers, I'm working on promotion of the project. I'm working to raise funds for the charity because it is a true charity. It is a very small charity, and we are completely dependent upon the generosity of other organisations and individuals. I do a lot of report writing. I spend a lot of time writing reports. I do a lot of research and statistics to make sure that we stay up to date on legislation and the latest practice of working with young people. Do the actual presentation of the courses, certification of the courses. I do all the shopping and resource planning for the project. I do all the IT side of things. I'm going to really bore you now. I do all the cleaning of the workshop. My role is quite comprehensive, really.
Yeah.
Have I bored you?
No, I'm just impressed because it sounds so varied. I mean, do you ever actually get time to have a break, is my next question.
When I first started this in 1999, it was a part-time role. And I am a victim of our own success. The balancing of all the different tasks to make sure that the charity can run on the funding that it gets basically means that, yes, I get a rest when I go to sleep at night, but the rest of the time I'm thinking about the charity, I'm thinking about the young people, I'm thinking about what they need. But it's worthwhile. It's one of those jobs you describe as a commitment and a lifestyle. It isn't a 9-to-5 job.
Absolutely. I mean, at least you can't say your role isn't varied, put it that way. I mean, that you genuinely do so much for the project, and it really sounds like you are a very important part of kind of keeping the project running.
Very kind of you to say.
So I want to, you mentioned earlier about the trips you used to do to like kind of the Far East and kind of Cambodia and that kind of area. I want to dive into this because I find this so interesting, and I think that is such an incredible and super cool experience for people to get, and one that they might not be able to get otherwise. So I want to know kind of, how did this scheme originate? And I want to know more about it. I think it's such a cool thing.
We started working alongside a Manx charity called it was CRC was its nickname, the Cambodian Children's Refuge Centre, and it was set up. CRC was set up in the late 1990s again. To help Khmer young children, Cambodian young children, as an orphanage to start with. So they built an orphanage and they staffed it and they raised money for it. And then they branched out into building a school. And they employed local teachers for this. And we got to know the organisers of that charity and the fundraisers of that charity. And working with young people here on the island, we saw an opportunity to give an experience to both sides, to the young people here and the young people in Cambodia. The teachers and volunteers at CRC in Cambodia were local, so they all lived in and around Phnom Penh, the capital city. The charity had built a school in an outlying village a few miles from Phnom Penh, and in many of the foreign schools in Cambodia had foreign teachers, but this was a charity school, so it couldn't really afford to employ foreign teachers. So the experience of all the Cambodian children was just Cambodian teachers trying to teach them English, trying to teach them computing. So we thought, let's take some Manx students out there so they can spend a little bit of time talking English, discussing the various cultural differences, giving them a new experience on both sides. And it just grew from there. It was such a success the first couple of times that we did it. And believe me, the risk assessments were enormous to do it the first couple of times. But the successes from doing it the first time, from the feedback we got from the two groups, meant that we couldn't not do it year on year. So we started working alongside them, and every February and sometimes in summer we would take a small group out. We took groups from Ballacameen. We've taken groups from Castle Rushen, St Ninians, and also from some of the youth clubs. And also we took a group of police cadets out there, and they spent their time, the 10 weeks, exploring the country. And when they weren't exploring different parts, it's not a big country, they were back in Phnom Penh teaching English in the evenings and discussing the various cultural differences between the Isle of Man, the British Isles, and Cambodia.
Wow, I mean, I just think that is such a cool thing to be a part of, and such an amazing experience to have, not only for obviously the people that travel to Cambodia, but for the kids there as well. And I would imagine it, really benefited both sides. But I think that's such an amazing thing to be a part of, and I imagine it's definitely something that that you guys will treasure, but also every young person who took part in it, I'm sure they got memories from that they will always treasure.
Yeah, very much so. I think there was 52 Manx young people that experienced it before the pandemic shut it down. And the Khmers, there was about 120 people in the school, and we're still in touch with them today, the young people who are now young adults, and they still all refer back to their experiences out in Cambodia, and the successes that they've had, both the young people here and the young people out in Cambodia, as a result of the two charities working together. So again, it's another thing that we're really proud to have been involved in.
Absolutely, and I think the fact that you are still in touch with all those people, I mean, if that isn't evidence that it worked well, I don't know what is. So would you ever, obviously the pandemic kind of shut that down a little bit, but as we're kind of getting over that and, normal life has kind of resumed itself, would you guys ever think of doing something along those lines again in the future?
We would absolutely love to set up the project again. One of the problems we've got is because of the changes in travel arrangements and the organisation of such things and the perceived dangers that have arisen since the pandemic. The actual administrative organisation of it is as difficult as it was had we never done it before. So one of the things that we've got to overcome, and we are looking into it, is the actual difficulty of the risk assessment side of taking young people so far again. Unfortunately, one of the other things is we always manage to do it for such a very, very low cost. We managed to do it at cost. There was no profits made because it was all about the experience for young people. The costs now to do such a trip have, I would guess, it trebled. So to give you an example, when we first started doing the trips, every individual paid round about £1,000, including flights and accommodation and experiences and food and everything. But now we're probably looking at closer to £3,000 per individual, and that's an awful lot of money to expect people to find to be able to do 2 weeks. So that's one of the problems. We would love to start it up again. We would love to do it. We've got links with other charities in the area because CRC has now closed. That didn't close because of the pandemic. That actually closed for other reasons to do with the Cambodians change in their economy. They got wealthier, basically, and the small, poor village that the CRC school was set up in basically managed to raise itself up, and they send their young people to a state school now. But there's still the possibility it might happen again. We are looking into it. It won't be in the next couple of years, but it might be 2027.
Ah, okay. Well, obviously, yeah. I mean, that, cost is obviously a big thing. And like you described there, that kind of jump from how much it would cost before the pandemic to how much it would cost now, that is a massive jump. And obviously that's going to have a huge effect on it. But I really, really hope that you guys will be able to do something like that again, because I think it is such a brilliant thing. You've mentioned the CRC as a charity that you've worked with. Do you guys collaborate with any other kind of organisations or charities? And what do you think are some of the benefits with collaborating with other organisations?
Yeah, we do actually. That's one of the reasons we've been so successful. We work with a number of organisations on the island. We have partnerships with educational organisations such as schools and youth clubs. We also work closely with mentoring programs with social services and the probation services and other youth charities. And also we have links with the police. So from an educational point of view, those partners are there. We have also supporters who help us through funding, creating the programs and presentations. We've had an awful lot of help from the Manx Lottery Trust and the Gough Ritchie Charitable Trust. We also get a lot of help from the Department of Education's Youth Service and also Lukey's Aid, which is an independent charity as well. And there's some generous private individuals who also help out with basically donating money, equipment, and sometimes time. It's one big team to keep the motor project running, and all these people, all these organisations, all work together for the benefit of a very small number in real terms of young people on the island. And so in the past we've had help from government departments, Department of Enterprise, Department of Trade and Industry as they were there, the Department of Home Affairs, other charities, and even a couple of banks and Tesco's helped out as well. So there's lots of people that come together to make this the success it is. I just coordinate it all.
Well, that's a very important role, it sounds like. And I think that's so amazing that there are so many people who want to help the project out. And I would imagine that support is almost paramount to keep the project going.
Yeah, it's completely dependent on other people's generosity and other organisations understanding what we're trying to achieve. It's sometimes very, very difficult to explain to people the importance of this type of work for some of the individuals that we work with. It's not a cuddly, fluffy little charity. Sometimes we work with people who have really, really challenging lives. And convincing individuals, convincing organisations that these people are worth investing in is sometimes tricky. But without fail, the people who are supporting us have come to realise, after a bit of time spending their money, but also spending time with us, they come to realise how beneficial it is in an individual's life to have support, to have educational choices, to have life choices. So we're very, very pleased that, sometimes it's very tricky, but we're very pleased that usually people come together to help us run for another year. We're very much hand to mouth. We run year to year, but we've been rescued from the brink a few times. But they're very, 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 very generous individuals and organisations that help us carry on.
Oh, absolutely. It certainly sounds like it. And if there's anyone listening who wants to help the project out, how can they do so?
Oh, very good question. It's very, very easy to say send us money, but I'm not going to say that. I'm going to say talk about us. Spread the word that we exist. Let people know what we're about and tell our political and senior educators about us. If you've heard about us, talk about us. Have a look on our website. Find out a little bit more about us. The more people that know about what we do, the easier it makes it for me to sell the project as an ideal and to show how effective and useful it is and how essential it is for certain individuals. If they wanted to help practically, and obviously in a financial way, then yes, we would love donations towards our running costs, and any help with funding, staffing, equipment or training will benefit directly the clients and community in the long run. We're not an expensive charity. We don't pay our trustees. We have very, very, very low running costs. We try and put everything back into the education and experiences for the young people.
Okay, absolutely. I mean, I am sure that people listening will certainly want to help you guys out, and I think you guys are certainly a very amazing charity, and the things that you do are incredible. Now, we've talked about all different aspects of this charity, but I'm realising that one of the things I still haven't asked you is kind of where do sessions usually take place and how often?
Yeah, I suppose that's very, very important for people to know. We currently have 3 sessions a week at our workshops in Hills Meadow Industrial Estate, which is off Peel Road in Douglas. It's relatively easy to find. Once you've done it once, you'll never lose it again. It's very near. It's basically, we're like the trolls underneath Pulrose Bridge. That's where our workshop is. It's very, very easy to find. Those 3 sessions are sort of separated into a course night where we run our structured courses. We run a workshop project night where the young people have their own projects on the go. And we also have a youth club style drop-in night as well. So you can come down for just to hang out, come down for advice and whatever. We also, at the drop of a hat, can organise special sessions, whether that's for nurturing, mentoring or counselling. And also we offer the opportunity for music sessions, because both myself and my assistant work in those evenings are very much into our music, so we can set aside the workshop for young people to come down and have a jamming session, or if they've got a band they can have a play around. And because of where we are in the evenings, there's no residences nearby. Nobody's left in the area after about 5-6 o'clock. All the businesses have gone home. We're on our own down there, so we can make loads of noise.
Brilliant. And I mean, we've definitely talked about this before, but it really emphasises kind of how varied the sessions that you run are. I'm interested though, and kind of off topic, but still on topic. You say you're into music.
Very much so, yeah. I love my music, and my colleague Mike's also a very, very keen guitarist. Yeah, we've recently, and by say recently, since the pandemic, we've introduced music sessions. Again, diversity. We wanted to offer a little bit more. We didn't want to step on anybody's toes who's already doing such things like that, but we also wanted to bring in voluntary sessions for musicians who just wanted somewhere to hang out, who might not necessarily have the funds to be able to hire anywhere, so they can just come down, spend a bit of time with us, use our facilities. Nice little warm workshop where you can make much noise as you want. We've got a selection of instruments as well that they can have a go on. And as I say, both Mike and I are very, very seriously into our music amongst all the other things that we're into.
Oh, that's amazing. I mean, that's such an amazing thing for people to be able to do. And also, as someone who's also very much into music, I think that's definitely a great thing to have available for people. So my next question for you is a question that I ask all my guests, and it's one of my favourites to ask. And that is, what would you say has been the charity's proudest moment?
Proudest moment? Well, that's a very, very good question. Proudest moment? Obviously the Cambodia links. You know, that seeing people in abject poverty achieve. Yeah, so and seeing how the experiences of going out there have changed the outlook of local young people's lives. But I think really seeing our own members and students make successes of their lives. And like I said before, avoiding some very devastating life choices in some cases. I think that's going to be the proudest moment, actually seeing them at the end of some very traumatic times in their lives coming through and being able to just get on with their life as some people might take for granted. On that very point, that I actually printed off a tiny little testimonial that I'd like to read to you that just shows how difficult some people have found life, and this is a quote from one of our young people, who's now he's not young anymore. He's in his late 30s, I think. If you guys didn't invest some of your time to help me, I probably would have ended up like all the people who grew up around me, addicted to. I'll excuse that word. I was around it all, and I could have easily fell down that rabbit hole, or dead, or in jail. And that, to me, is my proudest moment, that young person who I knew really, really well has written to me to say that.
Wow. I mean, I can definitely see why that would be your proudest moment. And it is, the fact that they kind of reached out to tell you that and to kind of show how much they appreciate the work that you guys have done is absolutely amazing. So what would you say then are some of the charity's kind of goals or aspirations for the future?
That's quite simple, really. What we'd like to do is to keep doing what we do. We'd like to continue to adapt, continue to fit in with what young people really need. Young people now are very different, in my experience, than young people 25 years ago. We want to be able to offer them what they need and what they would like to see in our charity. We would like them to be the drivers of our future. And if you pardon the pun that's in there, we'd also, that's not written down, by the way, that just came to me suddenly.
That's great. That's great.
But we'd also, in the future, we'd like to, the people who work for the Motor Project, we're all getting old. We've all been doing this since the beginning. And we'd like to employ some new replacement younger workers to continue the legacy and bring some energy to the charity to continue it for the island's young people. So if there's anybody who'd like to get involved in youth work, if there's anybody who feels that this sort of work is for them, if they can get in touch with me or go through the Department of Education's youth service, we want to keep the legacy going. We'd like the project to outlast my time running it. So yeah, that's the future. That's where we'd like to see it going. We'd like to see it continuing, existing, outliving me, basically.
Absolutely. And I wish you guys the very, very best of luck for the future. I'm sure you will continue to do amazing things. And thank you so much for coming on the podcast. It's, first of all, been such a pleasure to get to meet you, and so amazing to hear more about the project. I think one of the things I really admire about you is how passionate you are about the project, because I think it's that passion and that care for it that kind of, that from you, and it sounds like from everyone else who works on it, that really brings the project to life. And I can tell from hearing you talk about it how passionate you are about it and how much you care about it. And it's been so amazing to listen to. So thank you so much for coming on the podcast.
Thank you so much for inviting me. It's been a fantastic experience. It's been absolutely superb meeting you. Thank you so much.
Oh, you're so welcome. And thank you to my audience for listening, and I will see you all next time.